Welcome back to the NPC Dungeon, everyone. Today it's all about character backstories. I'm noticing I'm on a bit of kick of these lately, so we're going to tell one again. More specifically, it's the backstory for a character that I played in the past. Also, if you want, I'll go ahead and put a link to the playlist where I keep all my stories about characters that I played in the past in the description. I'll also be adding this video to that playlist shortly, so keep an eye out for that as well. I'll also go ahead and specifically link the story of Mizit, the other backstory that I told on this channel, as well as my DM advice video about making backstories for your characters, just so you can take a look at those if you want to as well. But anyway, that's it. So let's learn something today, and let's get in today's story. It won't be very long, but I hope it'll still be entertaining nonetheless. So, what happened? Well, the character I'm talking about today was a Githzerai rogue named Vinkent. By the way, there was a very specific inspiration for this character, so see if you can catch on to it by the end of this episode. Anyway, Vinkent was originally from the Chaos of Limbo, one of the many planes of existence where he lived in a monastery, training as a monk. But he was unfortunately a little bit too clumsy and too much of a pacifist, even for the monks he trained under, and after a few accidents was kicked out and banished to the material plane, where he had to turn to crime to survive. What little he remembered from his monk training actually served him quite well up until the point where he got mixed up with a crime boss named Harvecht and was assigned to do a simple job with a kitsune named Kaio, though Vinkent always called her Leo because he just couldn't seem to get the name just right. By the way, if you're wondering why there's a random kitsune in this backstory, it's because Kaio was played by another player. Yep, this is a combined backstory, and the two of them in this combined backstory were set up and eventually sent to jail, where they became pretty good friends and eventually even escaped together. And soon Vinkent eventually learned that Harvecht was a mind flayer. See, he never dealt with them in person, and if you don't know, Gith and mind flayers have a bit of a history. Vinkent, after that, swore vengeance on Harvecht and alongside Kaio left out on their adventure. I played him as a very stoic figure. He tried to be really serious, but he just didn't get sarcasm, and hyperbole just went straight over his head, which made for some really fun moments. He was also the one who always accidentally set off traps despite being a rogue. The way he avoided things and snuck around, I just played it off like it was by accident, which I think makes for a really fun character. And actually, thinking about it, I should probably tell a few stories from that campaign in a future episode. I think some of them are actually kind of funny. And since I did say this character's backstory is based on a very specific inspiration, I'll give you a second now to see if you can kind of figure it out if you haven't already. If you have, great job. If you haven't, this story was very heavily based on the game A Way Out. The other player and I had just recently started playing that game at the time we played in this campaign, and our names were based on the main characters from the game. Harvecht was based on the character Harvey, and they escaped from prison. We just wanted to have a combined backstory, and we wanted to see how long it took everyone to notice the inspiration. And if you're curious, it took them all a pretty long time to figure it out. Some of the players we actually had to tell. It was a good time. And that's all. I realized this week's episodes weren't very long, and my last couple of stories weren't very long either, but I have a few big stories planned in the future, as well as another series I'm thinking about doing. It'll be a little while before then, but they are in the works. And of course, don't forget to come back next week for a very special 2-part video series on how world building can change the context of a given campaign and even enhance the experience when done well. And this was actually at the request of one of my amazing viewers, so thank you for that. Come back next week also for another backstory for a character that I more recently played. As I said, I'm just on a kick of these recently, I guess. And then the following week, I'll get back to my Brynwyn story, and then I have plenty more stories to tell after that, so feel free to come back and give those a watch. And of course, until next time, let's learn something.